If you're here today, it's because your blood pressure worries you and you want to understand why it rises and how you can keep it at a healthy level without so many complications. And I want to tell you that it is possible. Every day I see patients who, just like you, arrive confused because they feel their blood pressure is getting out of control, yet no one explains clearly what is happening. Today, I'm going to help you understand it step by step. Many people believe that arteries harden only because of genetics, but in reality, the way we eat and the advice we receive influence this far more. We are often encouraged to eat certain foods that, instead of helping, actually worsen blood pressure. What is considered healthy today is keeping your blood pressure around 120 for the top number and 70 for the bottom number. When those numbers rise above 140 or 90, it's no longer normal, even if someone tells you otherwise. I want to show you how, without realizing it, you can end up developing high blood pressure. And what hurts the most is that many people pay for medical visits expecting guidance, but they end up receiving advice that leads them exactly to the problem they're trying to avoid. It's especially painful for me to see older adults taking multiple medications, living in fear of a stroke or paralysis, when in many cases they could have avoided reaching that point. I'm Dr. Gabriel Mena, and I welcome you to my channel. Here we talk about integral health, longevity, and simple natural habits that help you maintain physical, mental, and emotional balance. So take notes and share this with your family and friends to help them improve their health. New videos are uploaded every day, so subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all updates. Before we continue, if you find this content valuable, a simple action like supporting or sharing the video helps this message reach more people who need it. Thank you from the heart for being here and taking care of your health. Now, let's dive into the topic. I've seen how many patients manage to stabilize their blood pressure without needing so much medication. And I want to show you why this happens. Picture a diagram of your blood, your glucose, your muscles, your pancreas producing insulin, and your liver. Everything is connected. Many people are told to eat more chicken or processed foods full of added sugar. One of the biggest triggers for high blood pressure, especially when combined with salt, is sugary drinks and sweet foods. That sugar turns into glucose inside your body. For glucose to enter the muscles and be used as energy, the pancreas produces insulin, which works like a key. When your organs function well, glucose enters the cells, gets used, and everything stays under control. But here is where the problems begin. Fatty liver doesn't appear out of nowhere or because you inherited it. It comes mainly from what you eat. We're often encouraged to eat chicken, cheese, or milk, yet rarely told about protective foods like nuts, almonds, flaxseed, or even a natural supplement I want to introduce today, one that can help you maintain more stable blood pressure. I've seen results that surprise even those who already consume flaxseed. Over time, when you eat out or consume foods high in sugar, even if you don't add sugar yourself, your body can easily receive more than 500 grams of sugar per week without you noticing. That excess turns into fat stored in the liver and the muscles, blocking glucose from entering the cells. The pancreas, overwhelmed, produces more insulin to compensate. This is called hyperinsulinemia, and it has deep effects on blood pressure. I've seen pancreases exhausted at age 40, working at an unsustainable pace. When the pancreas can no longer keep up, glucose rises and many people end up needing insulin injections. And I ask myself, could this have been avoided? Most of the time, I remember the case of Mr. Ricardo, a 72-year-old patient. He arrived with extremely high blood pressure, convinced that it was normal for his age. That's what he'd been told his entire life. But after adjusting his diet and adding a natural supplement that supports arterial health, his blood pressure began to stabilize. He told me, "Doctor, I never imagined something so simple could help me this much." I hear stories like this all the time. I often hear people say that high blood pressure during menopause or old age is normal. No, it's not. Calling something normal doesn't make it healthy. If a value increases your risk of a heart attack or a stroke, it cannot be considered normal. Before continuing to explain how this process works and how you can regain control of your blood pressure, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. I share daily content designed to help you understand your health clearly and make informed decisions. If this topic matters to you, don't miss the upcoming videos. You can also share this with someone going through the same thing who needs this information. Alright, let's continue. High insulin levels caused by an inadequate diet raise blood pressure. It's not about age or genetics, it's about habits. And that's why today I want to show you what you can do to change this from the root. On this channel, with Dr. Gabriel Mena, we are committed to helping you improve your health every day with clear and practical information. Tomorrow we'll have a new video that complements this topic. I invite you to watch it. I'm sure it will be very useful for you. If you're concerned about keeping your blood pressure in a healthy range, it's normal to wonder what happens when it drops too low. When the top number goes below 90, it's important to evaluate it, because it can cause dizziness or fainting when standing up. Although it's not very common, it's good to review it calmly. But I want to bring you to the most important point of this block: how the foods you eat influence your blood pressure through the role of insulin. I want to show you, in a simple and clear way, what happens inside your body when you eat certain foods that seem healthy but aren't. Look, here I have a very particular food. Its aroma is strong and pleasant, and although it's hard to identify at first glance, it is widely used in many Asian countries. It's not common seaweed, not kale, not mint or dandelion. It's a type of seaweed that has become very interesting for people looking to maintain balanced blood pressure. We had to find it in an Asian restaurant because it's not easy to get. And even though it's salty, I'm going to show you why it doesn't raise your blood pressure. This seaweed is called wakame. Whoever guessed it was absolutely right. And it's not just me saying this. There are serious scientific studies published in reputable journals recommending its consumption not only to prevent lifestyle-related diseases, such as heart problems or even some types of cancer, but also to support healthy iodine levels, which are essential for the thyroid. I confess that at first, I also doubted it. I wondered how something naturally salty wouldn't increase blood pressure. But after reviewing the research in depth, I found the explanation. Wakame contains fiber that can absorb part of the sodium during digestion and release potassium, which helps lower blood pressure. In other words, it acts in the opposite way to what we might expect. I'm not saying you should eat seaweed every day. What I want to show you is that many real, natural foods like this can support your health in ways we don't always imagine. What truly raises blood pressure is a diet low in vegetables and high in processed foods. You'd be surprised how much hidden sugar ends up in your diet. Yogurt, flavored milk, and seemingly harmless foods can contain sugar levels that the body simply can't manage without raising insulin. And I want you to understand why this matters so much. One of my patients, Mrs. Marta, 74 years old, came in one day with her blood pressure extremely high even though she was taking her medication. She told me she didn't understand why some days she woke up fine and others with her blood pressure through the roof. When we reviewed her diet, we discovered she was consuming foods with very high sugar content several times a week without knowing it. That alone was enough to raise her insulin and, therefore, her blood pressure. When we adjusted her diet and added foods like wakame in moderation, her pressure stabilized significantly. Returning to the study, a powdered wakame preparation was evaluated, and it was observed that it helped reduce both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. In one group of patients, systolic pressure dropped by more than 10 points and diastolic pressure by nearly 8, with only 5 grams per day. To give you an idea, 1 tablespoon weighs about 12 grams. So we are talking about less than half a tablespoon daily, something very easy to incorporate. In the research, the most effective form was consuming the whole seaweed because of its natural fiber. It is also important to clarify that, for people with advanced kidney disease or those on dialysis, it is not recommended. But outside of those cases, it is a very interesting option. Even those with hypothyroidism can consume it, since it provides natural iodine, as long as it is done in moderation, just as I do. I know many people worry about whether this type of food can replace medications. The answer is no. This is not about stopping what your cardiologist prescribed. But we can balance the body so that blood pressure stops rising and falling like a roller coaster. If you review what you eat and reduce excess sugar, you will notice significant changes, even if you are already on treatment. Let me explain again why insulin plays a central role. When we eat foods full of hidden sugars, the body produces more insulin to manage that glucose. That insulin retains fluids, makes the heart beat harder, and narrows the arteries. Imagine a lot of blood passing through a small space. The pressure rises. It also blocks substances that should relax the blood vessels, and it thickens the blood, increasing pressure even more. This explains why someone can have very high blood pressure on certain days, even while taking medication. And it also explains why a person with hypertension can end up with high blood sugar over time. The pancreas becomes exhausted from producing insulin nonstop. I have had patients who, after changing their eating habits, manage to reduce up to 80% of their medication, always with supervision and guidance. The important thing is to address the cause, not merely try to cover the problem. I also want to answer a common question. Does ideal blood pressure change with age? Even for an older adult, including someone who is 90, the recommended values remain around 120 for systolic and 70 for diastolic. Many people believe it is normal for blood pressure to rise with age, but that is not true. It is true that arteries lose flexibility over time, but real food, physical activity, and strengthening the muscles help keep them healthy. And if you are wondering about other topics, such as glaucoma, remember that eye pressure is different from blood pressure. Having high blood pressure does not mean you have elevated eye pressure. But both deserve attention. Before moving to the next section, I want you to remember something essential. Many blood pressure problems are not caused only by salt, but by excess sugar and processed foods that increase insulin. And that is the real root we must address. On this channel of Gabriel Mena, we continue sharing useful and practical information to help you improve your habits and take care of your health. Tomorrow we will have a new video that complements this topic, so I invite you to watch it and keep learning with me. If your daily concern is keeping your blood pressure stable and you are looking for natural alternatives to support you in that process, I want to answer a question I receive frequently. If someone has low blood pressure, can they consume wakame? And the answer is yes. This food does not act like a medication that lowers blood pressure suddenly. Its effect is softer, gradual, and balanced, so it does not pose that kind of risk. Let me clarify its name again, because many people write it in different ways. It is spelled wakame, just as I mentioned before. I emphasize this because several people look for it and do not always find it easily. The same happened to me recently. We had little time to find it and had to visit several places. Even so, it is worth looking for, since this was the food used in the scientific studies we have referenced. Those studies were carried out by highly experienced researchers, specialists who demonstrated that even in a city like Quito, far from the sea and located more than 2,800 meters above sea level, consuming seaweed such as wakame helped improve blood pressure in many people. Very interesting results considering the geographical environment and the population studied. In the middle of this topic, I remember one of my patients, Mr. Ricardo, a 75-year-old man who came worried because, despite taking care of himself, his blood pressure rose without warning. He did not understand why some days he woke up apparently fine and others not. When we adjusted his eating habits, introduced small amounts of wakame, and strengthened his healthy routines, he began to notice stability. It was not magic or an instant solution, but a real change he could feel. Before saying goodbye, I want to mention something important. There are websites that imitate health professionals to take advantage of people's trust. Sometimes content is spread using the names or images of doctors without authorization. That is why I always remind you to verify that you are on the official channel of Gabriel Mena, where these topics are shared responsibly. And now I want to share something that is part of what we usually call the dessert of each meeting. It is a message that transcends religions and personal paths. It does not matter what your belief or spiritual search is. What matters is the heart with which you listen. I always say it with respect and gratitude for joining me in these moments. There is a very special passage I want to read to you today, because I know many people go through difficult periods when worry, sadness, or fear seem to take up more space than we would like. This text says that we are a chosen people, called to come out of darkness and move toward a light that brings peace and purpose. It speaks of the importance of remembering who we are even when our spirits feel low or when problems feel heavy. Many times we think being holy means being perfect or never making mistakes, but that is not the case. In the Bible, being holy means being set apart for a purpose, even with weaknesses, even with stumbles. It is not about never falling, but about not staying on the ground forever. If you are going through a difficult moment today, let me remind you that the invitation is always to take a step toward that light that can sustain you. And you lose nothing by opening your heart and telling God that you need peace, strength, and direction. In my personal experience, and in that of many patients I have accompanied, that simple act has been the beginning of great changes. I have seen people come out of deep distress, rediscover hope, and start seeing more clearly the path ahead of them. And that is something beautiful. Today I want to invite you, if you feel you are in a dark moment, to ask God to enter your heart and walk with you. Life can become heavy, and many times we wonder what the purpose is behind everything we go through. But even so, there is always a reason to get up, rebuild, and move forward. God knows your story, your struggles, and your deepest desires. If it is okay with you, let us pray. I invite you to say from the simplest part of your heart, Lord, thank you for life and for this moment. I give you my worries, my fears, and my burdens. I ask you to fill me with the peace that only you can give. Help me come out of the darkness and walk toward your light. Walk with me and guide my steps. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I am truly glad to share this space with you, because I know you are seeking ways to take care of your health, your well-being, and your heart in every sense. And that inspires me to continue teaching and learning with all of you. Before ending this video, I want to remind you of something important. If this content has been helpful, I invite you to subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and activate the notification bell so you do not miss any topic we cover here. On this channel of Gabriel Mena, we are happy to contribute to your health, improve your habits, and walk with you on this journey. We upload new videos every day created especially for you. Thank you sincerely for allowing me into your home and your life through this content. And I invite you, before finishing, to thank God for life, for the opportunity to learn, and for the possibility of improving every day. Tomorrow we will have a new video with another topic that will surely be very useful for you. I look forward to seeing you then.